This happened last summer. I was 32 and working as a freelance graphic designer. I rented a cozy 2-story house in a quiet cul-de-sac. I thought the peaceful atmosphere would help me focus on a big project. I needed this solitude. But what I experienced still haunts me. At first, everything felt normal. I set up my workspace and got to work. I sat in front of my laptop, designing graphics and listening to music. The lawn outside was freshly mowed, and the sun was shining. But on my second night, I woke up to soft knocks echoing through the walls. I rubbed my eyes and listened. It sounded like someone was tapping on wood. I figured it was just my neighbors having a late-night party, so I went back to sleep. But then it happened again. The knocks kept coming. I felt uneasy but tried to brush it off. The next few nights, it got worse. I lay in bed, wishing I could block out the sounds, but I couldn't. There were soft murmurs, like whispers, drifting in from somewhere. I began to imagine things. Maybe it was just the house settling. But during the day, I became seriously distracted. I looked out the window and noticed something strange. After mowing the lawn, I saw patterns in the grass clippings. They looked like shapes, but I couldn't figure them out. I felt a knot in my stomach. There was something wrong. I tried to convince myself it was all in my head, but I couldn't shake the feeling. One evening, sitting on the porch, I tried to draw inspiration from my surroundings. It was quiet, but suddenly, I saw a shadowy figure at the edge of my yard. My heart raced. It stood there, motionless, staring at my house. I squinted, but when I blinked it was gone. I told myself it had to be a trick of the light. Maybe I was just tired. That night, I heard the knocks again. This time, they were persistent. I felt cold, and my skin prickled. I mustered the courage to check. As I moved through the house, I felt like I was being watched. I glanced out the window but saw nothing. Was it just my imagination? A few nights later, I was woken by that whisper again. "Mark," it said. I bolted upright, my heart thumping. I asked if someone was there, but nobody answered. The air grew heavy, and I felt a chill. The last night was the strangest. I tried to drown out the sound by putting on headphones, but I still heard the knocks. This time, they were paired with laughter childlike and eerie. I pulled off my headphones and felt the back of my neck tingle. Fear crept in. Suddenly, the laughter turned into a scream. I jumped out of bed, heart racing, and ran to the living room. The room was empty, but the shadows seemed to shift. I froze, breathless. What was happening? In the morning, I packed my bags. I left without looking back. I still think about those strange things. What was that figure? Why did I hear my name? I don't understand any of it. When I finally returned to my apartment, the familiar comfort of my own space felt like a relief. I thought I could shake off the events of that summer. But I couldn't. As days turned into weeks, the memories replayed over and over in my mind. I needed to know what had happened. I decided to talk to my neighbor, Mrs. Golden. She had lived in the cul-de-sac for years and might know more about the history of the house. I knocked on her door, feeling uncertain. What if she brushed me off? What if I was overreacting? Mrs. Golden answered with a warm smile, but she noticed my unease. "You seem troubled, dear," she said, ushering me inside. I hesitated, but then explained everything, the knocks, the whispers, the shadow. Her expression changed. She paused, collecting her thoughts. "You're not the first tenant to mention odd things," she said carefully. "There have been stories around here. Some say the land has a past." "What kind of past?" I asked, my heart pounding. "A long time ago, there was a family who lived there. They had a little girl who, well, she disappeared one night. They never found her." Her eyes seemed distant, recalling something painful. "Just be careful, dear. Sometimes places hold on to things." I left her house, my head spinning. I had no idea how to process that information. Was I experiencing something supernatural? My mind raced with the implications. It felt absurd, yet it made so much sense. The whispers, the laughter. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept checking my phone, hoping to distract myself. At one point, I accidentally clicked on a news article from last summer. My stomach dropped as I read the headline, "Missing Girl Case Remains Unsolved." It was the same family Mrs. Golden had mentioned. Their pain echoed through the words. I felt a chill creep down my spine. As I scrolled down, something caught my eye. There was a photo of the girl, dark hair, bright eyes. It felt like I was looking into a hauntingly familiar face. An inexplicable connection stirred inside me. Suddenly, my laptop screen flickered, then went black. "Not tonight," I whispered, panic rising. I tried to restart it, but the screen stayed dark. It was as if something was blocking me from digging deeper. Then I heard a soft knock from my bedroom, like the echo of a memory. I froze. The house was silent except for that gentle sound repeating. I couldn't ignore it. Against every instinct telling me to run, I walked toward the sound. As I stepped inside the room, everything felt charged with energy. And just then, I saw a figure, faint but unmistakable, standing at the foot of my bed. It looked like a little girl, her expression lost and yearning. My breath caught in my throat. I wanted to scream, but no sound came. I felt both terrified and incredibly sad. My hand reached out instinctively, but before I could touch her, the air thickened and the girl vanished. I stumbled back, heart racing. What did it mean? What was I supposed to do? I needed answers. And I had a feeling the truth was buried somewhere deep in the past of that house. My only choice was to confront it. I wouldn't wait any longer. The next morning, I woke with a sense of urgency. I couldn't shake the image of the little girl from my mind. I threw on some clothes and decided to return to Mrs. Golden. I needed more details about her story, about what happened to that little girl. As I walked to her house, I felt a mix of determination and dread. What if I uncovered something even more unsettling? When I knocked on her door, she opened it with a surprised smile. "Back so soon?" she asked, gesturing for me to come in. "Mrs. Golden, can you tell me more about the girl? Her name? Anything?" I pressed, my voice barely masking my anxiety. Her expression shifted, and I could see a flicker of hesitation. "It's not easy to talk about." The family, their grief was palpable. The little girl, her name was Lucy. She was bright, full of life. And then, she was just gone. "Do you know how she disappeared?" I asked, hanging on to her every word. "Some say she wandered off, others think, well, something darker might have happened." She looked around, as if the walls might be listening. "People around here began to whisper about strange happenings after she went missing. Lights flickering at odd hours, echoes of laughter in the night. It's as if she never left." I felt a chill run down my spine. My encounters lined up too perfectly. What happened to her family? They moved away shortly after. Their pain was too much to bear. You see, places like this can remember. They can hold on to the emotions left behind. Mrs. Golden watched me closely, her expression somber. Before I could ask anything else, a loud crash echoed from my apartment. My heart raced. "I have to go," I said, the urgency growing within me. I rushed back home and found my front door partly ajar. Fear clenched my stomach. Did someone enter? I stepped inside, calling out, "Hello?" But all I heard was silence. Moving cautiously, I scanned the room. Everything appeared untouched, my laptop on the table, my books lying neatly on the shelf. Then I noticed something on the floor. A small porcelain doll lay on its side, one that I didn't own. I picked it up, examining it closely. It looked worn, the paint chipped. There was a faint scratch on its cheek, just like the one I had seen the little girl holding in the photograph. My pulse quickened. Had it come from Lucy's past? Suddenly, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a message from an unknown number. I opened it, my heart racing. The text read, "I'm still here." My mind spiraled. I dropped the doll in shock. The room felt charged again, as if something were building within its walls. I needed to confront whatever was happening. Then, as if in response to my thoughts, the lights flickered around me. The whispers began again, intertwining with the memories of laughter. I had to find out who or what was sending me these messages. I took a deep breath and reached for my laptop again. This time, I wouldn't let anything stop me from digging deeper. I had to know the truth. I opened my laptop, my fingers trembling as I tried to steady my racing thoughts. I needed answers. The room around me felt heavier, shadows creeping into the corners as the sunlight faded. I typed Lucy disappearance mystery into the search bar and hit enter. As the results loaded, I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see something or someone lurking behind me. But there was nothing but stillness. I shook my head, trying to clear my mind. Focus. I needed to focus. The first few articles were about missing children in the area, but nothing specifically about Lucy. I clicked open a local forum where people discussed urban legends and ghost stories. Comments flew past my eyes, but one caught my attention: laughter in the woods? Anyone else hear that? I scrolled down, my heart racing. The replies spoke of children's laughter echoing in the woods behind my apartment at twilight. My stomach sank as I thought of the laughter I'd heard those nights. I wasn't just imagining it. Then, another comment stopped me cold. Lucy was last seen by the old oak tree, playing with her doll. I froze. The visions of the little girl and her chipped doll flared back, but this time not just in memory. I could see her running beneath that tree, carefree and joyful. It was where she had vanished. I needed to check it out. I closed the laptop and moved toward my front door, urgency pulsing through me. The hairs on my neck stood up as I stepped outside into the twilight. The woods loomed ahead, shadows stretching like fingers toward me. I felt a pull, as if unseen hands were guiding me toward the old oak tree. Each step felt heavy with foreboding, but I pressed on, the whispering wind adding to my unease. I could hardly hear my own thoughts over the rustling leaves and those distant echoes of laughter that danced just beyond the trees. Finally, I reached the oak tree. Its branches twisted toward the sky, ancient and aware. I looked around, half expecting Lucy to appear. Instead, I saw remnants of what looked like an old play area, a rusted swing, a tattered teddy bear half buried in the dirt. My heart raced. As I knelt to pick up the bear, my phone buzzed again. I opened it to see the same unknown number flashing on the screen. This time, the message was different: "You shouldn't be here." Panic coursed through me, and I stumbled back, dropping the bear. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the clearing, shaking the branches violently. The laughter grew louder, the joy turning into something more sinister. I turned to run, but it felt like the woods closed in around me, the shadows thickening. I had to get out. As I raced back to my apartment, it hit me: this wasn't just a story about a missing girl. This was a warning. Someone or something didn't want me to uncover the truth. Then, just as I reached my door, I felt a presence behind me. I turned breathless. The laughter stopped, leaving only silence hanging in the air. And that's when I saw it: a figure, pale and flickering like a faulty light bulb, standing by the old oak tree. I froze, my heart nearly stopping. I knew then, this was far from over. I stumbled back into my apartment, slamming the door shut behind me. My pulse raced as I leaned against it, trying to catch my breath. That figure. It had felt almost real. I shook my head, trying to make sense of the whole situation, but panic swirled within me. What did I just see? I grabbed my phone, my fingers moving quickly. The unknown number hadn't texted again, but I felt that wasn't the end. I looked through my contacts, searching for anyone who could help. My friend Sarah was my first thought. She had always been my grounding force, the level-headed one. I dialed, praying she'd answer. "Hey, what's up?" Her cheerful voice came through, but it felt like an echo in my troubled brain. "I just saw something in the woods," I blurted out. "I think it was a ghost or something." Silence lingered on the line. I could hear Sarah taking a breath, probably considering how to respond to my frantic tone. "Are you sure? Did you drink something? Maybe you're just overreacting?" "Sarah, no. I saw it! This pale figure, by the old oak tree, I insisted. And this laughter, it was all around me. I found a teddy bear too, some kid-s old toy. It was creepy. Okay, she said slowly. Maybe I should come over. Just take it easy. I'll be there soon. I hung up, feeling a mix of relief and dread. I needed someone to believe me, but I was also scared of what Sarah might think. Deep down, a knot tightened inside me. If I was right about this, would it be safe for her to come? I paced my small apartment, glancing at the window that looked out over the woods. The shadows seemed deeper now, almost as if they were tangling up tighter together. I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. The laughter echoed hauntingly in my mind, almost murmuring sinister secrets. I distracted myself by searching the internet again, hoping for clarity. I clicked on the local forum filled with previous comments. More entries came up, all about strange noises and missing pets. But then, I saw a thread titled "People have gone missing near the old oak tree." My stomach dropped. I read through the posts, each story more unsettling than the last. They all spoke about the same eerie laughter and figures that were seen around dusk. One post mentioned a family that had never returned from a picnic by that very tree. My hand shook as I scrolled down, my eyes catching a final comment. It's not just laughter, it's a call to come play. Suddenly, the room felt colder. Almost instinctively, I glanced at my phone. No new messages. But just as I looked back out the window, I saw something moving in the trees, a flicker of white, the same pale figure I had seen. It didn't move like a normal person, it glided, as if floating just above the ground. I backed away, heart racing, desperate to shut the curtains. Before I could, I heard a soft knock on my front door. I barely breathed, rooted in place. Who was it? I had to make a choice. Either face the entity I'd glimpsed in the woods, or answer the door and find out if Sarah had arrived. But as I turned towards the door, another chill swept over me. The laughter returned, louder now, as if it had followed me home. I took a cautious step back, dread pooling in my stomach. I could sense it, a new threat tightening around me. I wasn't safe here after all. I hesitated before the door, heart pounding. The knock came again, this time more insistent. It's just Sarah, I whispered to myself, a weak attempt to soothe my racing mind. But the laughter swirled around me, and doubt gnawed at my resolve. Sarah? I called out, my voice shaking. The laughter faded momentarily, replaced by a heavy silence. Maybe I had imagined it, or perhaps it was just the wind playing tricks on me. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. I took a slow, careful step toward the door. My hand trembled as I reached for the knob, but before I could turn it, a sharp crash echoed from the kitchen, making me jump back. My pulse thundered in my ears. What was happening? I forced myself to look toward the sound, realizing it came from the half-open pantry where the old frying pan hung. Had I left it unlatched? Or was it something else? The thought sent a jolt of fear through me. The shadows in the room felt heavier, almost alive, twisting and writhing in the dim light. Just stay calm, I told myself, shaking my head to clear the panic. You're getting carried away. It's probably just a raccoon or something. But as I turned to check the pantry, I felt a gust of cold air swirl around me, chilling my skin. I took a step back from the door, unable to shake the image of the figure in the woods from my mind. The memories crashed in like waves, the laughter, the flicker of white, and that dreadful teddy bear I had found. I felt trapped, the walls closing in. Then I saw it, a shadow behind the window, flitting by the edge of my periphery. My heart raced again. I turned, determined to pull the curtain shut. My movements were frantic, driven by an urge to hide from whatever was watching. But as I did, my eyes caught the device on the kitchen counter. A small tablet I had nearly forgotten. Maybe I could find more information, or if nothing else distract myself from this growing dread. I rushed to grab it, nearly tripping over the coffee table. As I powered it on and opened the local forum, my hands shook. But the device flickered to life, and I scanned the screen. A new thread caught my eye, titled Ghost Children of the Woods. I clicked on it, and my breath caught in my throat as I read through a chilling account. The poster described a group of kids who had gone missing while playing near the old oak tree. They had come out to play in the woods and disappeared one by one until only one child remained. That child told a story of laughter leading them deeper into the forest, promising games and friends. A chill ran down my spine as I remembered the laughter swirling around me. Was it possible that it was those children? My pulse quickened, and I fought the urge to run outside. Suddenly, the door rattled, yanking my attention back to the present. It wasn't just a knock, it felt like a demand. "Help!" I called out, but no voice came to answer. I felt hopelessly alone, with the creeping certainty that whatever was out there had been waiting for me all along. Then everything went dark. When the darkness enveloped me, my heart stopped. I couldn't see anything, just an oppressive void. I blinked a few times, hoping my eyes would adjust, but there was nothing. No colors, no shapes, just a heavy blackness weighing down on me. I called out again, "Hello?" My voice cracked, sounding foreign in the silence. I fumbled blindly for the tablet, but it was gone. Somehow, the light that had just illuminated the room was snuffed out. Panic clawed at my throat. This was too much. What was happening? Then, the silence broke with a soft giggle. It was that same laughter, echoing in the dark like a taunt. My stomach dropped. I couldn't pinpoint where it was coming from, but it surrounded me, unrelenting. "Who's there?" I shouted, my voice stronger this time, hoping to sound defiant even though the tremor betrayed me. The laughter stopped abruptly, leaving a deafening stillness in its wake. My instincts screamed at me to move, to escape whatever this was, but I was frozen, caught in a net of fear. I strained to listen. There it was again, a faint rustling, like leaves being shuffled, but I couldn't tell if it was inside or outside. I wanted to run, but my feet felt cemented to the floor. I was alone in a suffocating darkness with what felt like shadows whispering from the corners. With a surge of adrenaline, I forced my legs to move. I stumbled toward what I hoped was the kitchen. The walls felt closer, and my hands reached out, feeling for the familiarity of the countertop. The fabric of reality felt thin, almost like I could tear it apart if I pulled hard enough. I grabbed the edge of the counter for support and leaned forward, letting the cool surface ground me. I needed light. But my mind raced at the thought of what might be lurking out there in the dark. In a flash of desperation, I remembered the old flashlight I kept in the drawer. With shaky hands, I yanked it open. The sound of clattering utensils echoed as I rummaged through, the noise stark against the stillness. My fingers brushed against a cold metal surface, and my heart skipped a beat. I pulled it out, flicking the switch. A beam of light pierced the darkness, illuminating the kitchen. For a second, relief washed over me. But that relief turned cold when my eyes landed on the pantry door, which now stood wide open, the shadows inside shifting in the harsh light. There, leaning against the back of the pantry, was the teddy bear, the same one from the woods. My breath caught in my throat. It was pristine, washed clean of the dirt and grime I remembered. Why was it here? Who had moved it? As if answering my unspoken question, I heard soft, high-pitched whispers. They echoed from the pantry, growing louder, almost pleading. My instincts screamed for me to run, to hide, but I felt rooted to the spot. That S when I saw it, a dark figure moving just behind the pantry door, its shape indiscernible, but its intent palpable. It was watching me. I could feel it. I stumbled back, the flashlight beam flickering, nearly extinguishing as the laughter returned, crescendoing into a frenzied chorus. The figure stepped forward, and in the fleeting light, I caught a glimpse. Then, just like that, the beam died. I stood frozen, engulfed in darkness once more. The absence of the flashlight's beam felt like a physical weight pressing on my chest. For a heartbeat I held my breath, straining to hear through the silence. The laughter had faded, but the whispers persisted, each syllable carrying a strange urgency. "You shouldn't be here," one voice said, barely above a whisper. I swallowed hard, panic clawing its way back up my throat. I wanted to scream back, to tell whoever or whatever was playing this game of shadows that I didn't belong here. Instead, I forced myself to breathe slowly and tiptoed toward the pantry, guided by the faintest echoes of the words. The darkness seemed solid, almost like a thick curtain I couldn't penetrate. I shuffled my footsteps across the kitchen floor, quiet like a thief in the night, the cool tiles sending shivers up my spine. I reached out, hoping to touch the pantry door, to impose some kind of understanding on this bizarre scene unfolding before me, but my fingers grazed the wall instead. The whispers faded for a moment, replaced by a sharp intake of breath from inside the pantry. My heart raced as I stepped back and slammed into the countertop, a dull pain shooting through me. "Stop it!" I yelled into the void, my voice breaking through the thick air like a desperate plea. I wanted to demand answers, to figure out what was happening, but a part of me wondered if I was inviting more trouble. The shadows inside the pantry pulsed like they had a life of their own. I strained to see, to make sense of the shapes. Then, from deep within the pantry, I heard the sound of something moving, something heavier than a whisper. A soft thud, then another, like footsteps echoing on a hollow floor. "What do you want?" I said, but my voice came out shaky and small. Silence answered, thick and suffocating. I felt the urge to bolt. But when I forced myself to look away from the pantry, I saw that the kitchen doorway was now filled with an unnatural brightness. A faint, white light flickered as if the world outside was radiating a glow that contrasted starkly with the oppressive darkness around me. I hesitated. Should I run towards the light? Or stay and confront whatever phantom lurked in the pantry? Before I could decide, that figure emerged again, more defined this time. It materialized just at the edge of my vision, cloaked in shadows. I could make out eyes wide, almost expectant. They glimmered like glass under the flashlight's fading memory. In a fit of terror, I lunged for the pantry door. If I was going to face this thing, I needed to know for sure what it was. I yanked the door open, the hinges creaking in protest. The moment I did, the whispers crescendoed into a frenzy. "Join us! Join us!" they repeated, a chorus that surrounded me like a blanket of cold dread. Then, just as suddenly, the frigid air stilled. The pantry was empty. The teddy bear lay on the floor, untouched, but behind it was a small, tattered note clinging to the wall. I picked it up, heart pounding. The moment I read what it said, everything shifted. "Leave while you can." In that instant, the light faded completely, and I couldn't ignore the feeling that something was very, very wrong. I stumbled back, the note still clutched in my shaking hands. The darkness seemed to thicken around me, wrapping me in a suffocating embrace. I couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows were alive, that they were watching me, waiting for me to make my next move. "Leave while you can," the words echoed in my mind. The urgency of the message was unmistakable, but I was frozen, staring into the pantry as if hoping it would reveal more secrets. I glanced at the teddy bear, its button eyes staring blankly back at me. A chill ran down my spine. Hadn't I seen that toy somewhere before? Then I heard a faint rustling sound coming from the kitchen. My heart raced again. I turned towards it, compelled to investigate even as every instinct screamed at me to run. I crept toward the source of the sound, my pulse pounding in my ears. Through the kitchen window, the brightness was fading, giving way to deeper shadows. I reached the counter and peered around it, my breath hitching at the sight of a small, slippery object on the floor. It was a broken picture frame, its glass shattered. I knelt down to examine it, my heart sinking. The picture inside was of me and my family, taken last summer at the lake. Everything was perfect then, but now it felt like a distant memory. The corners of the frame glinted menacingly in the dim light. Why was this here? I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I stood up quickly, my eyes darting around the room. "Hello?" I called out. "Is anyone there?" Silence met my inquiry. I took a cautious step toward the doorway, sensing the unnatural brightness waning even more. But as I approached, the soothing glow flickered and dimmed. The cold, suffocating darkness crept back, wrapping around me like a startling embrace once more. This wasn't just fear anymore. Something was definitely off. I could feel it deep in my bones. Just then, a noise jolted me. A low, muffled voice from outside the kitchen echoed through the air. "Let me in," it pleaded, breaking the silence in a way that sent a new wave of panic crashing over me. My breath quickened. Fear gnawed at my insides as I made my way to the front door. What if it really was someone needing help? What if it was T? My hand hovered over the doorknob, thoughts racing like wildfire. I had to know. But the moment I reached for the knob, everything shifted. The room grew eerily silent. A shadow swept past the window, dark and distorted. I could see movement just outside, but the figure was impossible to make out. Before I could step back and lock the door, the voice returned, now more desperate. "Let me in, please. I need you. It's coming." My heart raced as dread flooded my veins. I took a step back. That wasn't just fear anymore. It was pure terror. I finally managed to pull myself away from the door, my instincts screaming at me to barricade myself. Whatever was out there, whatever was whispering my name, it wanted in. Then came the sound of a heavy thud against the door, rattling the frame. "Let me in!" The voice cried again, sharper this time. Panic surged through me. Just as I turned to run deeper into the house, the kitchen light flickered once more, dimming until it was nothing but a flicker of hope. Then everything went dark. I jolted awake, gasping for air in the oppressive darkness, heart hammering against my ribs. I blinked a few times, trying to dispel the remnants of a vivid nightmare, but the shadows around me felt too real. I scrambled up, pulse racing, and fumbled for my phone on the nightstand. The screen glimmered back at me, illuminating the room just enough to guide my way. The light pierced through the silence like a beacon. I jumped when it buzzed, revealing a text that sent a wave of dread through me. "You shouldn't have come back." I recoiled, staring at the unknown number. Desperately, I scrolled through previous messages, only to be met with a thick silence, the darkness outside seeming to close in. "You need to get out," whispered a voice echoing in my mind. It felt familiar, angry and sad all at once, a mix of emotions that made chills race down my spine. Something was profoundly off. I moved toward the window, peering out into the night. The woods loomed, whispering secrets among the trees. Suddenly, a flash rang out white-hot and blinding, illuminating the darkness for just a heartbeat. I instinctively flinched, but when the light faded, I found myself staring at the old oak tree in my yard. The branches seemed to twist like skeletal fingers, beckoning me, inviting me to step outside. That intoxicating pull surged again, overwhelming my senses. I could hear laughter splintering through the breeze, childlike and innocent yet inherently sinister. "Come play with us," it seemed to sing, echoing from afar, its melody laced with a sense of urgency. "No!" I whispered, shaking my head. I had to focus. I turned away, unwilling to let the allure trap me. Just then, I noticed the teddy bear lying on the dining room table, an eerie reminder of my last confrontation. The sight of it made me sick. I would not be swayed by it again. I grabbed the nearest object, a small kitchen knife, hoping it might provide a sense of security as I cautiously navigated through the shadows in search of an exit. The door creaked softly as I approached it, my heart in my throat. Just as I was about to pull the door open, a low whisper filled the air. "You're not safe here." What did that mean? The weight of the moment settled heavily on my chest, crushing my courage. But I realized then I wasn't going to let fear define my choices anymore. My hands gripped the doorknob with renewed determination, twisting it open and stepping out into the night. The crunch of leaves underfoot sounded monstrous in the quiet of the cul-de-sac. I glanced back once, only to see the dim outline of my house, and somewhere behind it, shadows shifted behind the curtains. I made my way toward the street, hoping to find the solace of light. But the laughter still echoed in the distance, growing closer, enticing. As I reached the edge of the cul-de-sac, my heart stuttered. The streetlights flickered ominously, and then I saw her. A small figure, standing beneath the oak tree, staring right at me. Lucy. The little girl from the photographs, with dark hair and wide eyes, her empty smile stretched unnaturally across her face. "Play with us, Mark," she called, her voice mingling with the restless whispers in the air. I hesitated, fear nagging at me, but something deep within compelled me to run. I didn't stop, darting past the looming shadows of the houses and into the flickering light of the main street. I felt the cold air biting at my back, but I pressed on, refusing to look back. My breath came in ragged gasps, and adrenaline coursed through my veins. As I sprinted, the laughter faded into the distance, replaced by the sound of my own heartbeat pounding loudly in my ears. I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever I had encountered was not done with me. No answers emerged. There would be no resolution tonight. The memories of that dark house and the echoes of laughter would haunt me for a long time to come. I reached my car, fumbling with the keys as I hopped in, locking the doors behind me as if that could protect me from whatever darkness lurked just beyond my window. I glanced back in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see movement, but nothing stirred. As I drove away, the familiar streets began to fade, and the memories seeped in deeper than I had anticipated. After everything, I still had more questions than answers. What had really happened to Lucy? Were those lingering shadows merely echoes of a happy childhood or something more malevolent? I had survived, but I felt that I was merely postponing a haunting. Back in the safety of my apartment, I tried to forget, but whispers would come to me in the dead of night, begging me to remember. I moved to a different city, thinking the change would bring peace. But every so often, I feel that tug, that familiar pull calling me back to the darkness. I still think about it sometimes. The laughter in the wind. The way Lucy stared at me with that expectant gaze beneath the old oak tree. I wonder if she still waits, if the shadows still linger, and if one day, I might be tempted to go back. But for now, I choose to forget.